Hey guys, Matt from Soundrolling.com. It has been a very long time, but now I'm kind of getting back into the swing of doing video blogs. There is a link here if you're interested, because I've been posting a blog every day for the last, I think, month now. And it's also an accumulation of the last couple of years of just over kind of 300 blog posts, I think. So I'm kind of filtering them into a new website. Everything looks very cool. But let's skip on to today's video. And today's video is all about room tone, buzz tracks, wild lines, wild tracks, ambience recording, and because they are kind of very essential usually to kind of recording in production sound to save you time in post-production. And that's kind of what I am all about when I'm on location. This is often because I actually do post-production for both feature films, commercials, short films, for the stuff that I personally record. As a side note, this is one, because I'm a lot happier fixing my own mistakes than I am other people's. I know where everything is, so everything's a lot faster. And 3, because everything's a lot faster and I already have a relationship with the director and how the story's been and what's been on and how the decisions were made, the whole process is kind of a lot more rewarding in terms of seeing that all the way through and just being completely kind of responsible and in control and creative with the sound design. So let's get into numero uno, which is room tone. Now, room tone is the kind of natural state, as I'll call it, of the room when there is no extra noise from things like crew or actors moving. This is kind of the background noise. This is also maybe referred to, rightly or wrongly, as ambience. But essentially room tone would be inside a room. This is where we get the kind of idea of tone from. And ideally you've managed to take away all possible noise you can. There may be some noise in there that was in the scene, for instance, a refrigerator. Maybe there was a clock that was in shot and just had to be on and it was loud. Maybe there was a computer that had to be on. And so when you're recording the room tone, you want to be able to record the natural state of the room. Now, why do we do this? We do this because of dialogue editing. Now, my main role when I'm on set, there's many roles in terms of capturing sound to help improve performance in a film and a project. But we want to be able to, for instance, cover up things like sirens. I think you can hear that on the video. And so room tone helps us replace background atmos and make transitions smooth. Because we'll be in, let's say, this room now, and there'll be 2 people talking here and here. And we'll do, firstly, a wide shot of both of them, then we'll just do this person, then we'll just do this person, then we'll do an over-the-shoulder, and then we'll do another over-the-shoulder the other way. And so throughout that time, the environment is changing. It's changing maybe due to the traffic outside. It may be changing due to you've shot in the night and then it's coming into sunrise, or and then you have control of the light. The actual space is changing. So we have kind of a 30-second to 60-second, possibly more, depending how kind of how the variations, I guess, of the room go. But try and aim for at least 30 seconds of just essentially room tone as in kind of silence from everyone else that was involved in the production. And then this is going to be used in between cutting all those different shots. They're going to have a nice, smooth, good chunk that they can always go back to. Now, lots of people might jump in and say that, well, we can take like little samples from the actual takes, and we can use generators to generate more room tone. But in my experience, both in location and in post-production, is that if you do have a 30-second nice track of everything clean, it's just going to be so much easier. You don't have to go any looking and finding and creating, unless you're really, really desperate. Now, people may be also saying this because room tone can be recorded essentially wrong, or there's obviously a bad way to record room tone and a good way. So a good way, let's say that 2 people here are sitting at a table. A good way is to also when you're recording room tone, get your actors to sit in. It'll likely be that there will be radio mics on them. This will be, you'll have put radio mics, for instance, on because there would have been a wide shot at the start and you couldn't get a boom in because they're kind of moving about, and they don't want to do a plate or like heavy post-production, whole separate debate. Obviously you have the boom as well. So you want all microphone sources and you want them in the vicinity that the scene has actually taken place. There's no point just holding a boom and pointing it to the ceiling when you've been pointing it to the floor or to your actors, and you don't want your actors just standing in the corner of a room for room tone. You want them sitting where they were. This obviously gives you the closest representation to all the different shots that you would do with all your actors, and so therefore it can more likely be used in post-production to make their dialogue smooth. Okay, so now we have wild tracks. No, let's go on to buzz tracks first. So buzz tracks are a kind of extension of room tone in a way, and it's of something that you hope to be able to get out. A classic example is going to be a light. So there's going to be a HMI inside, maybe inside quite a reverberant studio. You weren't able to cover it because it would get overheated, and even the baffles that you put up or the sound blankets, because the room is so reflexive, it would get in there. Now you're doing, again, another like 20-30 second kind of take of essentially room tone, but you're calling it a buzz track because there's a noise in there that in post-production you're going to try and intentionally take out. And so you have a kind of print of the noise, and then you're going to use that print to try and take out the frequencies from the stuff you've recorded. So ideally we would do a buzz track of the light or of the room, again in the situation of where these two people were, or more, or however many actors you have. Then you're going to be able to switch off the light and get room tone without the light, and so then therefore you can, in fact, you can hopefully remove those frequencies in post unless they're horrific, and then you're going to be able to use the room tone without the light and use that as filler, so you still get quite a I guess rich soundscape to your sound as well. So very useful to have a buzz track. Again, there's only things for sounds that you can't get rid of, so fridges and other such things that you weren't able to turn off because they're hardwired, etc, etc. And then it's good to get room tone as well. And you're trying to essentially do both at the same time. You're trying to say, okay, we're going to have a minute, I'm going to get 20 seconds with it, and then you're just going to announce, can you turn off the light? Okay, we're going to get 30 seconds, get your 30 seconds in the right place. Jobs are good. Number 3, let's talk about wild tracks and wild lines. Now this could be movement, this could be lines of dialogue that you thought weren't quite captured. This could be kind of actions or props that we used. For instance, there's, I don't know, say they wind up a toy and then let it go on a table. All that kind of stuff you want to cover is for the purpose of using in post-production as kind of alternate takes and things of that nature. Now again, how you're going to try and do it is you're going to try and match how you shot it. So if we shot a close-up like this, I'm not going to have the boom here trying to get my voice super clear, because it will sound completely different to the take where it was out of shot here. And generally what you're going to find is that you're not going to try and get a wild track obviously to replicate the wide shot, but you're going to get one for the mediums, like this far back. I'm trying to look at my viewfinder. This far back, and the close-ups as well. And so, if I can stop that wobbling, that'd be good. It's just going to keep wobbling. Maybe that's a good effect. I don't know. Let's stop that. So you're generally going to get it for all the close-ups, and generally you should be trying to at least boom at the same level to keep the same kind of perspective to the camera each time. And of course, if I was wearing a lavalier as well, then I would want the person sitting and facing in the same direction that they were. Again, this can depend if people are moving around, but you want to kind of be in the general ballpark as much as you can, because that'll be the most accurate for post-production. Now, wild lines, I like to get people to do lots for variations, so I'll say, okay, give me 2 or 3 versions of that. And then if I find that I've played back the performance already to myself, not necessarily to them, unless they've asked for it. And then what I've done is I've gone through and I've gone, okay, well, this is the take where it didn't quite work for me, but this is what take the director liked, etc., etc. And I go, okay, so just give me 3 or 4 lines of, hey, I'm Matt Price. And the person will go, hey, I'm Matt Price. Hey, I'm Matt Price. Hey, I'm Matt Price. As like 3 different variations. And if you find there's a variation there that you like, you can always say, and can you just give me another one of those? And then could you give me one a bit angrier? And can you give me one a bit... And you'll find that after the 2nd or 3rd one, they'll have warmed into it. And then there'll be a kind of sweet spot of kind of nailing how you want it. And then there'll kind of be a drop-off because they'll have done the same line and they'll be like... It's like when you say a word like tree 500 times, it doesn't quite sound like the word tree anymore. It just sounds like tree, 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 tree. And it doesn't make any sense. So you've got to try and find that sweet spot and have the director on hand as well in case they want to throw anything into the mix. In terms of actions of kind of wild tracks, I've had recently a film that I'm working on at the moment. An actress comes from another room down some stairs, and so I've gotten that from the perspective of being inside the room, but I've had the boom a lot closer to the door, obviously looking up. So I naturally get the perspective of them coming in and then obviously follow their feet, because that's the main thing that will be making noise as they walk into the room. And then they proceeded to exit as well at the end of the scene. So I got them to do that as one continuous motion. And the reason I did it in that perspective is because then in post-production, all I would need to do is just play with the level, because I already have the reverb correctly set to the perspectives of all the shots that we've shot. So one of them was like a cross shot, and let's say the stairs, the door opening was over here. So I've pointed the boom from here, got them to walk in, and so it perfectly matches the kind of perception, or the... I'm losing track of all words here. It's getting the perspective of the camera for that shot. But it can easily be used with any other shot because the geography of the room has been established. So that's a tip for recording action for wild tracks. Ambience. So ambience we touched on a bit earlier, and it's kind of like room tone, but I guess it's more for exteriors. So I'll just kind of comment just based on trying to get the most out of exteriors. Now often you'll have a direction that is more noisy than another direction. So if you have, again, a classic example of 2 people standing, one person with a motorway behind them, one person with a nature reserve, or one person with a stream and one person with a farm, for instance. And you'll find that both are different. And so when you were getting ambience, you would again have your shotgun, you try and get one in the center, but ideally if you have time, you'd be looking to get one facing this way, an example of traffic or stream, and one this way in terms of farm or a vehicle or a motor or whatever else is making noise, more that side. And so then hopefully in post-production you'd be able to mix both the kind of midpoint, which due to the polar pattern would try and reject most, I guess, because that's what you'd be wanting to do as a production sound recordist. And then you would have one for post that would say, okay, well, there is a stream over there. So if you want to bring that a bit more in, for say the close-up shots of me and there's a stream in the background or a waterfall, you can just bring that up. And again, it's just an option for post. They might not necessarily use it. You are trying to get perspective, but you're also trying to reduce as much the noise or the signal to noise ratio of the voice. The signal being the voice and the dialogue that you want to capture, and the noise being the waterfall. So that concludes room tone, wild tracks, ambience, buzz tracks. Not necessarily in that order. So I hope you found this video useful. If you do, click the thumbs up button below on YouTube, because that does actually help more people be able to see the video and shows that it's relevant and all that kind of stuff. Do leave in the comments if you have any other different definitions or variations of things that people have thrown at you, because some people just seem to just pick up phrases and words out of the air, especially directors that obviously aren't as experienced in sound as ourselves. I hope this video helped. I hope this video was useful. If you've got this far, I'm sure it was useful to know all those different for and how they work and how they're useful. If you do have any more comments, questions, anything else, throw them in the comments below, and of course I'll answer them. And if you have any more questions, I'll be doing more videos like this, so I'll be covering different topics. Here's a link to the blog, doing a blog post every day, just trying to help people kind of record, mix, sound design, sound better, or films better, projects better, and I'm going to be covering a whole range of issues and things like that. So, I've been Matt Price from Soundrolling.com. Thank you very much for joining me. If you haven't already, subscribe and join the fun, and I will see you in the next video. See you later.